No, why?
Well, how come the Fort Drum's run in Watertown instead of the mayor then?
Why? What are they doing?
Well, I'm sure you're aware of this, but last week for 3 or 4 days there was 15 red berets telling people whether or not they could go into the Strand. Now, how does the city stand on that?
Well, I think it's a case of the command out there had placed that particular establishment off limits to their personnel. Now, it is an interesting question you pose when you're lining up individuals outside a sovereign business to, dissuade people from going in.
Is this Red Dawn? Is this Jericho? Is there a military state? I don't think there is. I think they're trespassing. I don't think they can do things like that. And
well, I'm sure they stayed in the public right away. I'm sure they had it lawyered up. I don't agree that
that's exactly what was said. They were telling military people that they could not go in there, and they were telling civilians that suggested that they didn't go in there because there was problems. And they were dressed in full uniform with red beret. That's not good.
Well, if what you're saying is true, I don't necessarily agree with that particular technique.
Especially if it was...
Now, on the other hand, I'm not a lawyer. Like, what if I didn't like an establishment? Let's leave out military, leave out this and that. Let's say I didn't like a certain restaurant, and me and my friends stood on the sidewalk in the public right-of-way and urged people not to patronize it. Now, there's a fine line between urging and threatening, and, there are probably civil issues there, but...
If you're dressed in military gear, may or may not be carrying firearms and having on a red beret...
Right.
I would think there's a bit of an intimidation there where no one's going to cross that line.
Well,
we're talking, 20 people laid off from work, and at the same time you've got the military with a story. Now, Channel 7 doesn't cover this, but they do cover this.
Did anybody cover this?
Drinking age 18, they don't know what they're doing.
Did anybody cover this? Is this a story? Because I didn't read about it in the paper.
Well, here it is. It's in the Blizzard. Of course, the Watertown Times doesn't cover it because they don't have reporters. There's a story in the Blizzard that they refused, to let military go to the Strand. But what it boiled down to is the military didn't listen because the military no longer listens to their commands, supposedly. So to enforce it, they brought 15 for 3 days. There's 3 sets of 5
they have
red berets.
Do they have pictures and stuff?
There was pictures on News Junkie about it.
Oh, but in the Blizzard, I mean.
No.
But this is an article that's in the Blizzard?
The front part of it's the article. The second one is actually the facts of what happened. And this is coming from, the owner's mouth. Now, this is just something that trickles down. This affects livelihood, it affects yours, it affects the cities, it affects taxpayers. This isn't a military state. They can't do that. As they control what's going on at Fort Drum, how can they possibly control what's going on in the city? We're not hiring to do that. You could have just stepped in and go, like, the military, you're wrong. You can't go object to a business in the city like that. You can't do it. Am I wrong?
From the way you describe it, I would say I disagree with it, but...
And on that same weekend, there was 11 people alcohol-related arrest.
Now, if you don't want...
If you weren't at the Strand. Now, if you're bringing the problem to the people...
But is there a history of chronic problems? I mean, there was that incident...
All over Watertown and every bar there is. Everywhere. You can't single out one. What it is the military just can't control their people, and that's fine. But you can't go and start closing down businesses because of it. You can't threaten someone's livelihood. That's just completely wrong. And who do you attack on this if you're the business owner that's being affected? Who do you go after? You have to go to the city and say, who's running the city? Is it being run by the city council, the mayor, and the city manager, or is it being run by Fort Drum? Apparently, it's being run by Fort Drum. This is a military state.
Interesting point.
Well, please check into it and get this under control. This is just completely wrong.
Okay.
And like I said, at the same time, they've got a big story going on TV7 regarding the military age starting to drink at 18. Should military be allowed to drink at 18? I guess the answer is no. You can't control the ones that are drinking right now. And I'm as much pro-military as you get, and it's not the individuals. It's some type of a speaking head in the military that jumped all over this because they told the military you can't go there, and they said, you can't tell us what to do when we're off base. Obviously they can't. So they went and enforced it by putting military people in full military red beret gear. That's just crazy.
Right. Interesting. Interesting point. I'd be interested to hear whether anyone else has similar observations.
Yeah, let's get someone from Fort Drum onto your show and discuss this, and let's just make it a topic of whether they're allowed to do that, yes or no.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Bye-bye now, don't you know.
Good afternoon, Hotline.
Yeah, Jack Bayes, how you doing?